Welcome to Reddit After Hours. This is r/relationship advice, where OP discovers that he has a son that's 18 years old that he never knew about. Our first Reddit post comes from Zoctor, titled, "My girlfriend revealed she has had passionate hugging with a married man in the past. It's been tearing me apart. Do you think it's a solid reason for a breakup?" We've been together for about a year and a half. We've never fought and we've never had any friction. She did have a more promiscuous past than I had, which isn't ideal, but I dealt with. But a few months ago, she let it slip that she had passionate hugging with a married man while knowing about his status. She showed no regret about it and didn't think that it was unethical. She also talks about how her deceased best friend used to bang other married men and really liked it, and it was something normal to them. I honestly found this rather disgusting. After that event, the little differences between us and the things that I don't like about her have been really bothering me more and more. I'm her first serious relationship. She had a rough childhood and dealt with many losses through her life. She has said that I'm the best thing that happened to her in her life and that it's the healthiest relationship that she's ever been in. She offers me a lot of emotional support and we really understand each other well, and she's never put me through any drama. I don't feel it in my heart that she's the one though, but I know that breaking up with her out of the blue would cause her immense emotional pain. How would you proceed? And then edit, OP replies, "Thank you for all the replies. I'll try to find the right moment and end it this week." OP, you said it yourself in your post. You just don't feel like she's the one. And honestly, it just doesn't sound like your morals really aligned. And, don't get it twisted, OP. You can break up with someone for no reason or a good reason. It's your life. You choose how to live it. Our next Reddit post comes from So Many Baby Quests, titled, "How do I forgive my husband for drinking to excess on Valentine's Day and ruining our first night ever leaving our baby with a babysitter? My favorite band is on tour and scheduled for a show on Valentine's Day in a city near us. This was announced several months ago, and I excitedly suggested that we get tickets. We still had a lot of time to find a babysitter that we liked and get more comfortable leaving our baby with them. My husband agreed and bought the tickets. I was so excited. As the date drew closer, I couldn't stop talking about how much this night would mean to me. This was going to be the night for us to have fun, reconnect after months of talking about nothing else other than our baby. Feel like the, quote, old us just for a few hours. Being on Valentine's Day was a secondary consideration, but of course, that day holds a special meaning on top of everything else. We found a sitter that we loved, and this was a huge deal, a night out, alone, to see my all-time favorite musicians. The day of the show, both my husband and I had off work, and the baby was at daycare. Husband makes us mimosas and breakfast. It was a sweet start to the day. Husband continues to drink after the mimosas, though, beer after beer after beer, and more beer on the train to the show, more beer at dinner down the street from the venue, and this is when I finally started to notice that he isn't as excited as I am, but drunk. He asked me a question, "What time does the show start again?" And I answer. 60 seconds later, he asked me the same question, forgetting that we just had the same conversation. And this goes on all through dinner, over and over again. Walking to the venue, I ask if he is okay and if he will make it through the show. This was a big mistake. He snaps, accusing me of doing drugs at some point in the evening despite being with me the entire night, screaming at me on the street that he can't believe that I would do something like that. At this point, I'm absolutely floored. I have no idea how to respond to something so ridiculous, but he is so drunk that he isn't listening to anything that I'm saying. I try my best to remain calm, hoping that we can still save the night. We get inside the venue and he is screaming at me, "I can't believe you did cocaine," and drawing looks from everyone around us. I'm pleading with him to please understand why this is such a wild thing to say, but he won't listen. He actually storms out and says that he's going home. So now I'm in an impossible situation because I can't let him go home and be the only adult to relieve the babysitter and be home alone with our baby, so I have to follow, pleading the entire time, begging him, but he won't listen. I ended up getting us an Uber because he can't figure out how to do it on his own. On the Uber ride home, he tells me that he's going to call my mother and tell her that I did drugs. I'm floored. My mother would be wildly confused and worried if he were to do this, so I called her and explained what is going on. She hears how badly my husband is slurring, and I don't think that she will ever look at him the same again. We got home and I try to go to sleep on the couch, but he doubles down and calls me a terrible mother right before going into the bedroom. The next day, I couldn't even look at him, and we have not said a word to each other in 15 hours. I'm disgusted. I don't know what to do or even how to address this. I don't know how to forgive him. My family certainly won't. I don't know whether to address the drinking or the drug accusations or what. I need some advice. Thank you all for reading. OP, for whatever reason, it sounds like your husband just had like a major meltdown. I don't know what got into him. Maybe it's all the stress of like having a new kid and he's just not dealing with it well, or who knows what it could be. One thing's for sure though, I definitely think you guys need some marriage counseling, or maybe he needs some like parenting classes or like something to help you guys move forward, because that is just not okay. He just crashed out in a really big way. He definitely needs some counseling, and maybe you do too, to try to, sort out these feelings. Our next Reddit post is from Number One Toolful, titled, I'm seriously considering ending my engagement and my relationship to my fiance. I went out on a date with my fiance on Valentine's Day. My gift from him was going to this thing called Martini Wars. I think it was something on Eventbrite that he found last minute. It was a battle between bartenders and, as you can imagine, a lot of drinking. Things were going fine until the ride home. In the Uber, his tongue was hanging out of his mouth. His eyes were rolling back, head bobbing back and forth. I was honestly afraid that he was going to vomit in the car, so I kept the windows down and I tried to comfort him. We made it home just fine, but then he became very obstinate. He refused to listen, and he was borderline sick, so I kept telling him to move to the toilet. He wouldn't budge from the spot in the bathroom that he was at, though, and he vomited all over the floor. I became upset at how unnecessarily defiant he was being. But then at some point, he became very angry with me and showed me a side of him that I've never seen in the 5 years that I've known him. He began screaming at me and wouldn't back down. I was in an abusive relationship before, and it triggered the worst memory of that relationship. I begged and pleaded him to stop yelling, but he didn't. At some point, he left the room, and I took the opportunity to get a hotel that night. I woke up in the hotel to a text message of his saying that he didn't remember anything, but that he was very sorry. I stayed away from him all weekend, but since he's returned home, he's done nothing to make amends for his transgressions. I told him that the engagement was off, and he accepted it. He avoids me around the house and doesn't try to connect with me at all. I guess the worst part is that Wednesday nights are supposed to be date nights. Yesterday, he told me that he was going out with the boys and asked if I wanted to go. I feel like he doesn't even care how much he hurt me, and he doesn't even want to fight for the relationship. I know I'm coming to this with one side, but I'm wondering if there's any salvaging of this relationship. If you were in his shoes, what steps would you be taking to show that you were serious about the fact that you really hurt your fiance? First of all, OP, if that was me and I did that to you, if I really cared about the relationship, I would be apologizing to you left and right and trying to make it okay. Obviously, he knows exactly what he did because he texted you that he was very sorry. And when you called off the engagement, he didn't fight you on it. He knew exactly what he did, or he just doesn't care. One way or the other, OP, I don't think there's any salvaging of this relationship. But you should be happy, though, in the sense at least. And I know, it doesn't feel like it right now, but you should be happy that at least he showed you all of his red flags and who he really was right now, and not after you were already married and after you already had kids or something like that, tying you to him forever. Our next Reddit post is from DizzyFeed3760, titled, My husband secretly recorded us and sent it to my ex. I just found out that my husband of 2 years secretly recorded us during passionate hugging, and I'm freaking out. He sent it to my ex that he's always been jealous of. I knew that he could be a little over the top sometimes, but this is honestly making me insane. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not even sure what to say. I found out from Instagram by looking in their DMs. My ex was angry in the text, but he blocked my husband right after confronting him. This exchange was around May of last year, and I'm really scared, and now I'm panicking. What do I say to my husband? I know I need to confront him, but I'm just so scared. I can't believe that he would record us without me even realizing. What if he has more recordings in his gallery? I'm so worried, and I'm really scared, and I don't know what to do. And then OP adds an edit. I've cleared my head a little bit, and I'll be looking for more evidence that I can find. My sister has a lawyer that I can get in contact with, so I will trust that things will go accordingly from there. Thank you for the advice, and everyone, please wish me luck. OP, while you're going through these divorce proceedings, I would absolutely contact the police as well. That's gotta be criminal. Recording you like during passionate hugging without you knowing and sending it around to people without your knowledge, that's one of the biggest invasions of privacy that he could have ever possibly done against you. And that's also gotta be illegal. I hope everything goes well for you, OP. You're doing the right thing by divorcing him. If he's going to do that, there's no telling what else he can do in the future. Our next Reddit post comes from KR1735, titled, I think I just found out that I have a son. How should I approach his mother? So my world has been turned upside down in the last 24 hours. I've got 2 kids, or so I thought at least. My oldest has an assignment for school to write a report on an interesting relative. My family's pretty boring, but I did recall having a great-great-great-great-grand uncle who was a member of Congress, so I thought that we would start there. I logged into Ancestry and had a notification that said you and a random woman's name shared DNA. I thought that it must be a distant cousin or something, so I clicked it. It said the predicted relationship was, quote, parent/child. I called my mom to make sure that her account didn't get hacked since I knew that she had done this in the past. She said that she used 23andMe though, not Ancestry. So I looked up this woman on Facebook and came to the realization that this was someone that I hooked up with in college. I used Truthfinder to find out more about her. She appears to be married and has a husband and an older kid and 2 younger kids. They look like the typical suburban family. The older kid looks like he was awkward as I did when I was a teenager, kind of a spitting image of me. I'm guessing that she did a test for him using her name. I have a flood of emotions right now, anger being the first. If my math is right, he's about 18 now, and I don't remember the exact timing, but I've missed out on basically his entire childhood. I was absolutely in no place to raise a kid at the time in my life, and I probably wouldn't have ended up being able to go to med school if I did. At the same time, though, I never got the choice to know, and that's what upsets me more. I know my family would have helped me out if I had known. I haven't told anyone about this, not even my spouse. I'm wrestling with the guilt right now. I really want to reach out, but I don't want to throw turmoil into the family. But I also feel like I shouldn't have to miss out on more of his life. He has an Instagram account, but it's private, and reaching out straight to him would be very overwhelming, not to mention creepy. Where do I start? Do I call Ancestry? Do I reach out to her directly? Do I get a lawyer? I don't even know how any of that works because I live abroad now. And then we have an update from OP. The day after my original post, I told my spouse and my parents. Both were supportive of however I wanted to go about this. I went ahead and I decided to contact my son's mother. I didn't want to give her the excuse that I wasn't anything but proactive. When I went to send a message directly on Ancestry, I could no longer find the match because she had blocked me. My sister, who also used Ancestry but didn't open the app in ages, could still see the relationship from hers. I decided to have my sister contact her, thinking it may be easier anyway coming from another woman and someone slightly less emotionally involved. My sister was also blocked immediately, with no response. We both tried reaching out on Facebook and, what do you know, blocked and blocked. My mom even tried reaching out and, of course, got blocked. So I ended up writing a brief message to my son and sent it to his Instagram. Without going into specifics, simply telling him that I think we share a connection and that I knew his mother when we were in college in about 2006, and leaving the door open from there. Basically telling him that I was likely his father without blatantly saying it. I let him put the pieces together in a way that kind of made sense for him. Within a few hours, I received a message back. He knew exactly what I meant. He said that his mom told him that his biological father was her high school sweetheart and was killed by a drunk driver while she was pregnant. He didn't know that his mom had even gone to college. He told me that he had started questioning the story because she didn't know any of his relatives and only had one pic of his quote dad and had no pics of her with this guy. He described this as a big question mark in my life and that he had been wanting answers for a while. He did provide the DNA for the ancestry test. His mom told him that it would help her locate the quote fictional father's family so they could come to his graduation party. Still, he said that he wanted to be 100% sure that I was who I said I was. So on the 6th, I drove the 5 hours down to meet him at a Starbucks. I brought a paternity test and we did samples and put it in the mail. The results came back as a match yesterday. However, I knew from the moment that I saw him that he's my kid. A parent just knows. On the photos that I saw of him, he looked just like me as a teenager. But when I saw him in person, I could see the resemblance to my dad as a young man. His voice even sounded like mine. It was tough holding myself together. It was the same flood of emotions that I had when I saw my kids for the first time when they were born. A unique cocktail of emotions that only parents must know. Except for now, it's happening in a Starbucks and the kid's a teenager who's 6'1", basically the same height as me. As for his mother's husband, my son told me that he's never had a close relationship with him, especially after his twin brothers were born, who are now 7 years old. His mom is good to him and clearly did well raising him. He said that he's always looked to his grandpa as his father figure, and he lived with his mom and her parents for the first several years of his life. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life yet, but he is an honor student and he's on the swim team and is hoping to get his scholarship for swimming. He has a girlfriend and he's going to prom this spring. I'm so incredibly proud of how maturely he's handled all of this. We're keeping in contact on Instagram and agreed to meet this summer so he can meet the rest of the family, particularly my parents. He's especially excited to meet my 2-year-old daughter as he said that he's always wanted a little sister. I also encouraged him to go easy on his mom when the time comes to tell her because we were both so young when all of this happened, and I'm sure that she did the best that she could at the time, as misguided as it may have been. Sometimes adults tell lies to make things easier for kids to accept, and we can suddenly find ourselves caught up in those lies. It doesn't mean that she wanted to lie to him. So all in all, it's a pretty mixed ending. Would I have liked for his mom to have complied? Yes, it would have made things a hell of a lot easier. But I won't hold a grudge against his mom because my number one priority is my son's well-being and he doesn't need that chaos in his life. I hope when she's finally told that she can come to terms with it because they both deserve peace and he shouldn't have an unspoken rift between his parents. I think that she will though. Honestly, she doesn't have much of a choice at this point. I hope now she understands that now that he's grown, I'm not trying to take him away from her. In some ways, it's a blessing that I didn't find out until now, because had I found out sooner, lawyers and judges would have been involved, and I don't think that it would have been good for him. At least that's what I tell myself when I get upset about it. And I'm glad both of us have gotten some closure here, particularly him, as he's been dealing with this a lot longer than I have. OP, you're handling this with a lot more grace than most people would, and I think more grace than I would. My son's still a little baby, and, just looking at him and thinking of all the milestones and the moments and watching him grow up just makes me so happy to think about. And if I found out that I had a son that was 18 and I missed all of those moments with him, his first steps, his first words, watching him grow up, have, girlfriends for the first time and go to school and all that nonsense and sports, it would break my heart and I would be seeing red towards his mom. I have no idea why she would want to hide that from you. That must have been incredibly hard to raise a kid by herself, but everyone has their reasons, right? All in all, it sounds like he grew up to be an amazing kid. So, I guess he got lucky and you got lucky to at least finally find out about him. I'm glad you guys reconnected though, OP. I hope you guys can make up for all that missed time. That was Reddit After Hours, bringing you r/relationship advice. Thank you all so much for listening, and if you like these stories, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below for any future Reddit subs that you'd like us to cover as we post new Reddit videos almost every single day.